So then we are back with the modern understandings from the time of the Second Tabernacle services, a refined in the Aramaic English translation of the word. This translation comes from the original manuscripts of the prophets of the Israelic lineage. So then we can understand the time of the end as per Yershiyahu the prophet. We find a layer of understanding of the spring feast, autumn feast, and also the returning of the city of the Messiah laid waste for many centuries. So then we find ourselves studying these holy documents, and we are during this day precisely on Zechariah the 5th chapter, where then Gog and Magog of our time, or Israel and United States, they are devising plans for the building of the couple of tubes, where then Zechariah saw the formation of both of those galals. They are then obviously the combat plans of Arabia and China. So let's then evaluate what goes on, because a couple of pieces of information came out from both sources, one of them from YouTube and the other from China News, where then China News states very plainly, academic warns Obama on Pacific policy regarding Washington making bad choices in relation to China and Asia, says a strategic analyst. So then what's going on then? We find then obviously the relationship of Mr. Netanyahu and Mr. Obama, they are becoming further apart. And that's true. The relationship should deteriorate further, because the objective is then understanding Zechariah the 5th chapter, where then both of those tubes, or then the plans of extermination, must come for the future combat. Where do we find this? Precisely the 5th chapter of Zechariah describes step by step how we should understand. Then not only this, very recently came out obviously a video regarding Israel, and then the relationship of Israel and Iran, where then Israel very sternly obviously complains regarding then the worship of Iran, and it is also true. So these relations are absolutely on time, on schedule, because what goes on then is obviously Mr. Obama going over then the Asian market and obviously forcing the situation on his behalf, where then he is going to retrieve at some point devising plans of destruction or extermination of China. Thus then a section of Gog and Magog. The other side is Israel then making plans for the future of Arabia. Both of them are on time. So we are experiencing then Zechariah the 5th chapter as today. Let's then evaluate when this information regarding Israel on a counter situation, it came out precisely today, published on September the 30th of this year, from the regular calendar or then Gregorian calendar, came out today. So then let's try evaluate where then the information regarding United States has come out precisely today. So today we are then starting with Zechariah the 5th chapter implicitly. So then, where do we find this information? There is then on a website, China Daily News USA Division, where you find then academic warns Obama on Pacific policy. That's regarding then the relationship of US and the Asian market. Then where do we find the other? On then RT, it is then the title, Israel on a counter situation, Netanyahu vows to rebut Iran's talk regarding then their desire of friendship with the West. Both of them we understand won't work. The situation regarding then the relationship of Netanyahu and Obama should deteriorate further, and the relationship of Obama and Asia should deteriorate further, and then the relationship of Israel and Arab nations should deteriorate further. So then Zechariah the 5th chapter then is on target. So let's evaluate then what's coming in the future, because the intention is obviously US retrieving itself and then rebuilding itself. However, there is a point where Mr. Chi and Mr. Kabila must then make a deal regarding Congo, and it's coming very close. Came out today also, Nigeria and China signed a deal for more power of 1.2, 12 digits, regarding then the increase of power. So then Mr. Chi is also has a schedule of going then to Asia, the area, then regarding Indonesia, and then making more deals. So then China is becoming closer and closer of coming to Congo. When China makes a deal with the Congo, then many gears of Daniel the 11th chapter then is in place. How do we find then these gears? It's precisely then regarding tabernacling from the viewpoint of the prophet Ezekiel, where you find in the first chapter the huge clock, or then the synchronism machine that Ezekiel saw. So then also Yershiyahu the prophet saw the same machine. So then we can understand every section of it is placed on the machine until the situation starts. At the moment we have bits and pieces of prophecies lining up themselves for the initiation of the clock. If you study then Daniel the 11th chapter very precisely, you find then, and this is absolutely precisely because we can find these in Daniel the 11th chapter, when we come then to the end of the 4th verse of the 11th chapter, is then a section regarding then the initiation of the 5th verse, and the kingdom of the south shall to be strong. When Mr. Chi makes a deal with Mr. Kabila, then the machine of Ezekiel the 1st chapter then engages. Then many situations will take place very fast. We must be absolutely daily watching the news, so then we can evaluate and place the information on the news regarding then the websites and the news around the world on Ezekiel's machine, and must be synchronized perfectly as instructed by the prophets. So then at the moment we are experiencing Zechariah the 5th chapter. Please stay tuned, much more coming up.